Uh, Good evening, everyone. I'm Rajat Kumar Maurya, PhD scholar, Department of English, Central University of Karnataka. Welcome back to this online platform, Dharwad Katte Dharwad. On this virtual platform, we all have gathered here for a special lecture series organized every Saturday in English as well as in Kannada. On this special occasion, we invite a guest speaker and uh, speakers to deliver his lecture and express his thought. So, in this lecture series, now we have Shakespeare's drama on which we have already organized several talks. In the continuation of this series, we have taken one of the Shakespeare's drama, Macbeth, and the topic of today's talk is Macbeth, a stage of blood. Before the lecture starts, I would like to invite Professor Basavaraj P. Donu, the president of this program, Registrar, Central University of Karnataka, and our guest speaker, Dr. Usham Rojio. I also welcome Secretary, General Secretary, press reporters, members, research scholars, and my dear friends. I would like to give a brief introduction to our guest speaker, Dr. Usham Rojio sir, who is at present working as teaching faculty at the Department of English, Central University of Karnataka. Sir has completed his PhD and postdoc from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has co-authored a book titled Aisnam Sabitri, The Way of the uh, Thamoi with Professor H.S.C. Prakash. He writes poems, plays, critical essays. He is also a dramaturg and theater director. So, without doing any further delay, I would like to invite Rojio sir to deliver his talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajat. And I would like to thank Professor Basavaraj Donu sir and my colleague Prakash Balikai sir for inviting me in this wonderful engagement deliberation of talk every Saturday at Darwad Kati. Today, the topic of my presentation is Macbeth Stage of Blood. Today, I'm generally speaking on Shakespeare's play Macbeth, particularly focusing on a Manipuri adaptation of the same play. Shakespeare's shortest as well as bloodiest tragedy, Macbeth, is the story of a valiant Scottish general named Macbeth who is told by three evil witches that he will one day rule Scotland. Macbeth kills King Duncan and claims the throne for himself after becoming enamored with ambition and being prodded into action by his wife. He starts out his reign filled with shame and terror, but as he is compelled to carry out more and more murders to shield himself from animosity and suspicion, he quickly develops into a tyrannical king. The slaughter, murder quickly drives Lady Macbeth and Macbeth to arrogance, insanity, and finally death. Shakespeare's play Macbeth is not the most sophisticated, I believe, but it is unquestionably one of the most compelling and passionate plays. Macbeth tumbles madly from its beginning to its climax, in contrast to Shakespeare's other major tragedies, such as Hamlet and Othello, which fastidiously investigate the intellectual struggles of their topics and the subtle intricacies of their characters. For nearly 400 years, audiences have been horrified and captivated by this crisp pointed sketch of theme and character. Among Shakespeare's tragedies, only Macbeth has a surviving eyewitness account of the Globe performance in London. In his book of plays, the physician and astrologer Simon Forman, who was fascinated by magic and the occult, wrote about a performance of the play that took place in April 1611. The majority of Simon Forman's reasonably comprehensive analysis of Macbeth consists of a retelling of the plot, but he is most moved by the play's opening scenes, the witch's forecast, and three especially striking episodes. Macbeth's opening scene is entirely different from the increasingly realistic ones that have characterized the tragedies that came before it, which normally open in the middle of a discourse. Othello and King Lear, for example, mainly focus on very human worlds, but Macbeth obviously marks a fresh departure and openly sets out to show a world distinct from human worlds. With thunder and lightning, three witches speaks in riddling rhyme. In Julius Caesar, we see the ghost's quick and quite unexpected entry into men's affairs. Even in Hamlet, which has a ghost, portrays a world in which the ghost appears intrusive, a restless spirit attempting to intrude in a world where the living sing and grows with daily activities and must be reminded of the existence of the spirit world. In Macbeth, however, the witches are the first thing we see, giving them a sense of past actuality. The external reality of figures who initially emerge in the play before any character from whose mind they would otherwise have sprung cannot be questioned by the audience. However, their status is not clear despite their obvious substantiality. According to one scholar, Hollins said, there was disagreement about whether these ladies were some nymphs or fairies endowed with knowledge or prophecy by their necromantical science, or the strange sisters, or as we would say, the goddesses of destiny. Shakespeare doesn't resolve their status. They refer to themselves as the weird sisters. The word weird means fate or destiny, whereas the stage directions refer to them as witches. And in the play, we see Banquo's confusion when he first sees these witches and he highlights their ambiguous position. This unresolved status and the ambiguous position of the witches, I believe, makes Macbeth susceptible to a wide range of interpretations and performative adaptations in many contexts and cultures. Instead, than the other way round, Macbeth begins with the witch's speech, and both we as audience or readers and the witches as characters are aware that they will meet Macbeth before Macbeth himself is aware of it. Therefore, the effect is to place Macbeth within the framework of the witch's world rather than in free and voluntary interactions with it when his first line, so fall and fear a day I have not seen. This first line of Macbeth echoes the lines the witches chant in unison in the closing of the first scene. Fear is fall is fear, hover through the fog and filthy air. The question of what type of universe Macbeth inhabits and what kind of agency he has within it is thus brought up right immediately and then brought up again and again in various ambiguous and fluid ways throughout the play. It is this ambiguous and fluidity of the elements of supernatural that I believe invites multiple interpretations and adaptations of the play. In addition to numerous cinematic renditions of Macbeth we have seen over the year, the play has also had numerous Indian stage adaptations. Numerous theater companies had also adapted Macbeth in my own state called Manipur. The recent Ratanthiam productions and the Augri Theatre Group productions are notable productions. Earlier, Sanakya Ibotombi had also adapted this play in the Natya Sastra traditions using the Sankirtan folk performance of Manipur. During his later years, Haisnam Kanhailal sought to stage Macbeth in the Assam village of Rampur's Sal Tree Jungle, but due to his health problems in his later years, he was unable to stage the full-fledged play. However, fortunately, I got the opportunity to see some of the scene work in progress during those days. Today, I would like to concentrate on a production that has long caught my attention. It is Lokendro Arambam's production of Macbeth, and the title of his play is Macbeth, Stage of Blood. Macbeth, Stage of Blood, an adaptation of Shakespeare's Macbeth, directed by Lokendro Arambam, is something which has intrigued me for a very long time. In his experiment of doing environmental theater, he staged Macbeth on the floating stage made on water bodies. And he's trying to connect with the elements of nature, doing theater on the open space. This play was first staged on Mingthem Pukri, a pond in Imphal, on 25th June 1997, which was later staged on Thames River, London, on the occasion of the celebration of 50 years of India's independence. Let me share you some pictures of this production. So this is in Mingthem Pukri. Now they are preparing to make stage. So boats are brought from different parts of the state. And this is how they prepare the stage. Now finally the stage is ready. And this is in Thames River, preparing the stage. This is the final stage. This is the rehearsal. And this is a scene of the Birnam Wood, approaching Macbeth. So these are some of the, and this I will show later. Now on June 25, 1997, when the drama was staged on Mingthem Pukri, I watched the performance. I was a young student at the time, and I had not enough, had enough exposure to experimental theater. Therefore, I was unable to fully understand and comprehend the production. It is only later on, watching the video record of the play, that I started thinking and writing about this play. It was a novel theatrical experience. Nevertheless, emphasizing the subject of political repression and retaliations. Macbeth production of Lokendro Arambam consistently had a powerful resonance during those times of unrest, political unrest in Manipur. A large-scale dramatic play was also staged on a floating stage, which was something of a remarkable venture. Manipur had a history of using various spaces for performance: pavilions, courtyards, fields, forests, and rivers. These spaces were not closed, and the performances were not intended only for certain sections of people, as with the colonial proscenium stage. Traditional performances were inclusive, enabling the whole community to come together and interact with the ancestral forces and the natural elements through the spirit mediums. Manipur also has a history of non-proscenium dancing and musical performance on floating boards on this specific site, Ninthempukri, the pond where Arambam's Macbeth was staged. Historically, Manipur has a long history of performing on water bodies. For instance, the story of Kaliyadaman, the killing of the demon serpent by Lord Krishna, was performed on the river. There is a history of performing as well as telling jokes on the riverbank by boat riders who trades bamboo and other local vegetables. However, this was the first time a full-fledged drama was presented there in the front of a large audience. The idea of staging this play on the water body is reviving the indigenous forms of theatre. The impact was tremendous in both a dramatic and visual sense. The environment's scenic beauty, the actors' almost bare male bodies and costumes, their expressive movements, the atmospheric lighting, the dramatic tensions, and most importantly, the water body as a metaphor of blood contribute to the creation of an evocative setting of the primeval and the supernatural. The play is influenced by the rhythms of life and the universe attributed to water's significance as a symbol of civilization and its deeply ingrained spiritual implications in the daily lives of many of the surrounding communities in Manipur and Northeast India. Let me share you the video of the opening scenes of this play.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Sir, what is subject? Topic.
Macbeth on Macbeth.
Dear Karthik, it is shared with the invitation. Uh, Let the guest speaker continue his talk. Sir,
Okay,
please go ahead.
let me share the video. Can you see the video?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see it.
Yes.
In the boat, you see the corpse of Macbeth bringing in. So the play begins bringing in the dead corpse of Macbeth, which I'll speak and focus later.
Sir, Kannada ಬರುತ್ತಾ? ಕನ್ನಡ. ಸರ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬರುತ್ತಾ? ಕನ್ನಡ. ಸರ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಬರುತ್ತಾ? ಕನ್ನಡ.
Sorry to interrupt, but Karthik sir, I think it is based on English language, right? So why you would like to know about Kannada from him? Kindly focus on English only.
So you see that the play begins, with bringing in the dead body, the corpse of Macbeth, and then Macbeth, you know, being given the war dresses, costumes, and then the war scene begins there. So it's in a way a very kind of Lokendra Arambam doesn't follow the linear narrative, and in contrast to the recent production of Ratan Thiam, which was visually stunning, Lokendra Arambam's play uses specific regional symbolism. The play unveils numerous levels of text within text. The play's inspiration, according to the director, was the horrifying rape and murder of a girl by the son of a prominent political figure of the period in 1997. The establishment kept, everything quiet. In addition to drawing inspiration from a historical episode, the play transforms the material into a dialogue of weaving strong metaphors throughout the text to reference the historical conversation. The play also combines many pasts that have become histories and interprets them in the light of current issues. The play makes an effort to connect with the collective spirit, its sense of pain, and its desire for liberty and justice. The effect of water symbolism powerfully expresses the fluidity and duality of Macbeth as well as the fragility of political reality. Significantly, blurring the boundary of sexuality further intensifies this theme of duality. A single male actor played the role of both Lady Macbeth and Macbeth in a dramatic and distressing portrayal of evil. Lady Macbeth, as an alter ego of Macbeth, is translated into corporeal expressions, communicating the notion that these two central characters are almost inseparable. All the roles, soldiers, wives, Macbeth's associates, and the witches are all played by a dozen of actors. Intriguingly, instead of three witches in Shakespeare's play, Lokendra Arambam exploits seven male actors, very much an expression of values and identity of the reason. However, one is compelled to ask the reason of male actors dominating the play, primarily when masculinity overwhelmed the character. Unlike Shakespeare's plot, the play rejects the linear structure. It is a more lyrical production with a cyclical nature of time, which lends to the traditional form of rituals in the reason. The play begins with the death procession of Macbeth. Eventually, the end becomes the both beginning and end. Like the never ending circle of this Ouroboros serpent dragon, which pervades all the techniques of dance, movement, martial arts, and rituals in the region, the play seems to suggest this is, the, you know, powerful. This is what we call Ouroboros. Like the never-ending circle of Ouroboros serpent dragon, which pervades all the techniques of dance, movement, martial arts, and rituals in the region, the play seems to suggest the cyclical nature of violence, its causality, and time as well. One can also connect these philosophical ideas, particularly the cyclical as well as the circularity of violence, with the Indian principle of cause and effect, often descriptively understood as the principle of karma. To me, I felt there are expressions of the embodiment of coexistence of contrary forces, good and evil, harmony and chaos, peace and violence, beauty and ugly, and life and death. Transcending the emotive expressions of pain and suffering, the play transports us into the primeval world of ceremonies, rituals, and rites, while also drawing our mind to contemporary political issues. The director himself wrote, I quote, "The Macbeth we did was not a prototypical Shakespearean tragedy. We work with the idea that to transcend the forces of violence and revolution, their impact needed to be absorbed within the womb of metaphysical principle. a principle represented by the eternal serpent dragon devouring its own tail, expressing the truth of renewal and everlasting spiral of beginnings without end. Unquote. As a result, they drew the Ouroboros symbol to the they drew the Ouroboros symbol on the pontoon surface, the boat stage, which was situated in the middle of the river, as well as on the verandas of the Watermen's Arts Centre buildings in London, through which the audience members would have to pass to get to the performance site. To further emphasize that they were entering a mystic ancestral world where the celebratory performance was to take place, the audience were also compelled to step across burning embers arranged in the serpentine shape. Female British actors portraying priestesses in a trance guarded the entrance to the performance venue. These are the audience. This is backstage rehearsal, and this is the review in one of the newspapers in London. What makes the play more intriguing is the concern expressed for the socio-political as well as the spiritual landscape that has been devastated by the orchestrated culture of violence and impunity. In this play, Macbeth, Lokindra Arambam is trying to use the local folk motifs as well as the indigenous forms of theatre which connects with the environment, which connects with the of five elements of art, water, fire, and these five elements. So in the performance, the impulsive rhythm, the lyric body movements underlying the performance text, accompanied by powerful music and movements of actors with crafty subtlety, makes the play more captivating. The music director, Tiken's haunting music enhances the atmospheric ambience and emotive language of the play. Moreover, the poetic translation and the poetic articulation of the masterful translations of late Arambam Somarendra, who is the brother of the director Arambam Lokendro, transcends the text into powerful poetry of performance. And I will stop here. I would love to take questions and discuss about this play, about Macbeth, as well as about this production. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Or you like to watch some of the scenes of the play? We can.
Yes, sir. Pardon me, sir. Pardon me for interrupting. Rojio, sir.
This is the sin of feeding alcohol and trying to kill King Duncan. So the play is, the plot, the narrative is in the reverse form. The whole community wailing after the death of King Duncan. This reed mat, we call it Kogna mat. It's a traditional mat, and Lokindra Arambam exploited it as, using it as this Birnam wood sin. So finally, Macbeth is killed, and he is lying on the mat where he is brought in the beginning of the play. So you see the the play is begins with the bringing in the dead body of Macbeth, and then finally ends with the death of Macbeth. So again, the reverse, uh, plot of the play. So I like to invite questions and we can have a discussion on this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your interesting and informative presentation through the critical performance. Now, I request to the President of the Dharwad Katte to give his valuable observations.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just
Good evening, sir.
so good evening to you. We have heard a good presentation by Dr. Rojio, a colleague of mine in the Department of English, Central University of Karnataka, Kalburgi. He gave short but beautiful, well-drafted presentation on Shakespeare's major play, Macbeth Blood Stage. We all know that Macbeth is one of the most powerful plays written by Shakespeare or by any author for that matter. It is one of his four, great tragedies, and people have written very extensively on and about the play during the last 400 years. And T.S. Eliot has written a long essay on Macbeth, considering it as a metaphysical evil. And this play has attracted the attention of the readers, actors, and the stage directors for a long time, and people have not lost interest in this play. And Macbeth appeals to us for many reasons. It is one of Shakespeare's major political play, and if you read this play along with Julius Caesar, you understand politics better, because in both the plays, political murder takes place. Here, the protagonist of the play is himself a killer, an assassin. He kills his own king, Duncan. And in Julius Caesar, we don't know. The critics are still debating as to whether Caesar is the protagonist of the play or Mark Antony, and so on. The debate is still going on. So this is an interesting play, and this play can be read from several perspectives. And Rojio, a very serious student of drama and theater, has made a very sincere, serious attempt to read this play. And I like his presentation. He's a young man. I'm proud of him. So this blood, the play is all about blood. From the beginning till the end, you see, blood flowing in a way like a stream. And the word blood appears in this play for about 40 times. 40 times. And why does this word appear in the play time and again and again? Because this is all about blood. And words like bloody and appear, bloody and bleeding appear for many times in the play. bloody. The word blood appears for 40 times, and words like bloody and bleeding appear for more than 40 times in the play. And blood in the play symbolizes both Macbeth's guilt and his own newfound resolve to preserve his own life. It happens in most political plays, and many political murders take place only to preserve their own life. A king, to preserve his own life, will murder several people. So only for survival, political murders take place. For power, people murder, and when you get power, to preserve your power and also to preserve your life, because you have acquired power through wrong means, you go on killing the people, shedding the blood. So in this sense, blood in this play symbolizes his guilt, Macbeth's guilt, and also his newfound resolve to preserve his own life. And even Lady Macbeth is not free from it. We all know that it's not Lady Macbeth who murders King Duncan. It is Macbeth who really murders Duncan. He murders his own king with his own hands, and his hands are bloody. But Lady Macbeth often thinks that her hands are also very bloody. She thinks that blood is still there on her hand like that, and she can still smell blood. She can still smell blood, and she says all the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. So she tries very hard to come out of this mindset. She fails, and at the end of the play she commits suicide. She can't bear the pain anymore. That guilt, for a thinking man, guilt troubles. The sense of guilt does not trouble everyone. The sense of guilt does not trouble everyone. It troubles only the person who thinks, no, I shouldn't have done this. If you say I shouldn't have done this, then you suffer from the sense of guilt. If you don't repent and you never think about the evil deed, the evil act you have done, then you will not suffer from the sense of guilt. And again, Macbeth several times says, what is done cannot be undone. What is done cannot be undone. There is no undoing. There is no undoing in life. That's the reason why we should be very careful when we take a decision to act. Not just taking decision, acting upon the decision. You have to be extremely careful, because once you act, that's an end of it. You can't take it back. You can't take it back. So when Macbeth murders Duncan, then he goes on murdering people. He kills a series of people. There is no going back. He tells his wife, "I cannot go back, and I cannot go back and be good to others." He says, because I have already committed the murder. I have already committed the murder. So once I commit the murder, there is no going back. That's why what is done cannot be undone. But he did it, and he could not undo it, and he has to pay it at the end of the life. It's not Macbeth. You and me also should have to pay if we do something wrong, incorrect. So blood also symbolizes guilt and the consequences of committing an irreversible act. I already said that there is no undoing. When there is no undoing, when the undoing is not possible, then you will have to face the consequences. You have to face the result of your action. And Macbeth suffers from an acute sense of guilt in this play. So he says, that he cannot come out of it. And again, there is a direct link between this guilt consciousness and sleep. So when Macbeth murders Duncan, he says, "I have not murdered Duncan alone. I have murdered my sleep too." Macbeth can no longer sleep. And Lady Macbeth also says at one point that I cannot sleep. Both husband and wife cannot sleep because they have killed sleep. And what does sleep, symbolize in this play? So sleep symbolizes innocence and peacefulness. You're happy as long as you're innocent. You can be calm and quiet, and you can love your life, and you can love the whole world as long as you are innocent. Once you lose your innocence, you cannot love yourself, because you are quite aware of what you have done. And when you are aware of what you have done, when you are aware of the wrong thing that you have done, how can you sleep? No, you will lose your sleep. So sleep symbolizes innocence. And when you don't have innocence, you can't be at peace. You can never be at peace if you commit a sin. Macbeth, he has everything. Richard II, very, very interesting play. We don't teach this play. We should teach this play. Richard II, Shakespeare's Richard II, Richard III, Henry IV, and so on. They are all very important political plays. And there also he cannot be happy. He can't be happy. When you commit murder, how can you be happy? So that's an end of it. That's an end of it. So we think that if we do some mistake, if we commit a crime and acquire power and get away with this, it can't happen like that. So the real tragedy starts when you commit a big mistake and acquire power. So you can enjoy power only when you get it, automatically, without shedding blood. You should just get it. Then you can enjoy the power. You can use the power. If you acquire power, any power through by wrong means, you cannot exercise it. You cannot be happy, and you will have to only make plots, hatch plots, and to preserve your position, your life, and so on. You commit mistake. So um, this guilt is one of the motives in this play. So what I'm trying to say to you is that Macbeth is a major play of Shakespeare. It is one of his four powerful tragedies, and it is very complex play. The plot is also very complex, and you have to read it again and again to understand the concern of the playwright and the play, and also the characters. And the play has so much to teach us. you know it can reform us. It helps us understand life and world better. So thank you so much, and it's a good presentation. Dr. Rojio is a young academic, a very serious student of drama and theater, and I request all my students and the viewers of the Harvard Cafe to interact with him. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable
Thank you, sir.
observation. Now the forum is open for questions and discussion. So I invite audience to ask questions and give your feedback.
Yes, Rajat, before the audience get ready with their questions, let me announce two things. Let them give 1 or 2 minutes with the permission of the President Narod Kate. I make two announcements. about Dharwad Katte. Dharwad Katte has started its own website, that is www.dharwadkatte.com. Kindly visit our website. You will get all the information, including our new journal. It's a bilingual journal where we are inviting original poems, writings, critical writings, and so on. Please contribute your original writings to our Dharwad Katte journal. You can visit. We are also sharing all the information on our in our WhatsApp groups and also in our website. It is www.dharwadkatte.com. Kindly visit our website as well. If there is any question, Rajat, we shall take it. There are so many appreciations about Dr. Rojio's talk. However, the talk was very elaborative. Our audience got all the information, including the Manipuri theatre performance, and the adaptation. We shall take up into.
Yes, I request to audience, you can ask your questions and share your observations.
Dr. Rojio, I just would like to know one thing.
Yes, sir.
In the Manipuri adaptation, how the performance differs, stage performance. One thing, what are the limitations of adopting Shakespeare's plays in the regional language? Could you throw light upon it?
Okay, sure. Uh, Translation, as you know, the problems of translation, laws in translation. And in Manipuri performative traditions, I would say, rich Manipuri performative traditions we have, and well-known theatre directors like Ratan Thiam, uses lots of visual effects in his production of Macbeth, in his recent production of Macbeth. And in Ratan Thiam's play, you will see lots of colorful lighting and visual effects with music effects, sounds, and all. And in the translation of the text, minimal translation. They take the essence and they do not translate words by words. So most of the texts, okay, the words are translated into the performative text, in the performance text. So this is one most of the Manipuri directors do. Again, in Sanakya Ibutumbi's adaptation of Macbeth, he uses lots of the Sankirtana singing elements, kirtan. He used lots of kirtan. So dialogues are sung in the kirtan format. Okay, so using these all folk performative elements, you translate the text into a different way, not the word-to-word translations. But, in these translations of performance, it becomes a different kind of text, a different taste altogether, a phrase departure from original Shakespeare's. But at the same time, the essence of Shakespeare is kept alive in all these adaptations. This is what I can generally talk about the process of adaptations. So in many texts, we do not, the Manipuri directors do not translate, every words by words, but they create their own text, but without, diverting or without losing the essence of Shakespeare. So they just catch hold of the essence. And in for example, Sanakya Bontobli calls his theater as theater of essence. So taking the essence, that's something most of the director of Manipur had worked on.
Thank you, sir. There are questions. And Dr. Rojio, I would like to know one more thing.
Please.
Usually you visit and you are becoming part of many performance across the country. As per stage performance is concerned, what are the limitations of Shakespeare's play? Stage limitations, I would like to know.
There are many limitations, and at the same time, there are the strong performative traditions is also very helpful in the sense that, in Mysore, recently Ratan Thyam's Macbeth was performed not recently, 2 years, just before the corona in Mysore. And then the reception was overwhelming. The reception of the play was overwhelming. It was performed in Manipuri, but people can understand, people can relate. So there is a very strong performative language which communicates the audience, despite of performing it in a different language. Okay, a strange language like Manipuri to the Kannada audience in Mysore. Okay, so it has an impact. And you will see lots of reviews of Ratan Thyam's productions. And at the same time, these particular productions by Lokendra Arambam, which was performed in 1997 at the Thames River in London, on the Thames River in London, and you will see lots of audience receptions, and then and also reviews on the newspapers. Okay, so this also shows that there is no barrier of language when it is performed. The performative language speaks speaks volume, and it can communicate with any audience across the world. So while reading the text, for example, if I have to read the Macbeth translation, the Kannada translation of Macbeth, I may not be able to read. But if I watch Kannada performance of Macbeth, since I have read, I know the story, then I can connect. I may be able to connect quickly. So since Macbeth is the plot of the Macbeth is aware, many audience, many readers are aware of this story. Okay, connecting with a different audience or different audience who speaks and comprehend different language, I think it's not difficult through the performative language.
Thank you, Dr. Rojio. Now, Rajat, you can take.
Thank you, Prakash sir. Now I request to audience, if anyone wants to ask questions and give suggestions or observations, can come forward and ask questions.
If there is no question, Rajat, we shall move ahead. Anyhow, we have our YouTube channel and number of WhatsApp groups, and also our.
And I thank Professor Donor sir for bringing out clearly about the symbol of blood. And in the particular play that I am talking, in the particular productions of Lokendra Arambam I was talking about, the symbol of blood, the water is using as the symbol of blood, everywhere surrounding by the water. The stage is in the middle of the water bodies. So it's very interesting. and the connections of the performance with the five elements of nature. Okay, and at the same time, this circularity that the symbol of Ouroboros, the serpent dragon devouring its own tail. It's very, very important symbol that he had used. Okay, so it is something like Chakravyu. Once you go inside the inside in the realm of violence, there is no coming out. There is no coming out. So this circularity, uh, that motif used in the play, in the production of Lokendra Arambam, is very, very interesting, mystic, supernatural, and at the same time dense and complex.
Thank you, Rojio sir. So, Prakash sir, shall we wind up?
Yes, however, the audience may post their questions and discuss further using our social media with Dr. Rojio. Rajat?
Yes. Thank you, Rojio sir. Thank you for giving this wonderful lecture. And I thank you, the president of Dharwad Katte. And I also thank you, the audience, for attending and listening this interesting lecture series. And now, thank you all for attending this lecture series. We will meet again on next Saturday with another interesting topic. And thank you all.
Thank you, Razat, and thank you, Dawat Kate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.